Ladies, listen up. You don't attract high-value men by chance. You attract them by choice. Your choice to rise, to know who you are, and to stop settling for less than you deserve. The world will always try to tell you how to behave, how to shrink, how to be more likable. But strong women, women who refuse to dim their light, draw in men who respect them, admire them, and step up for them. A woman who naturally attracts the best men understands the power of her standards. She doesn't just set boundaries, she honors them consistently. She knows what she wants, what she deserves, and what she will not tolerate. This isn't about arrogance or being difficult, it's about knowing her worth. She understands that the quality of the man she attracts is directly linked to the expectations she holds for herself and for anyone who enters her life. She isn't seeking perfection, but she refuses to entertain mediocrity disguised as effort. She never apologizes for wanting respect, loyalty, honesty, and commitment. She doesn't shrink her needs to make someone else comfortable. Too many women have been conditioned to believe that having high standards means they're asking for too much, that they should be grateful for whatever attention they get. But this woman challenges that narrative. She knows that respect begins with what she allows, so she refuses to negotiate her core values. She would rather walk alone with integrity than walk with someone who treats her as an option. Her standards act as a filter. Men who are insecure, inconsistent, or emotionally unavailable will naturally fall away. She doesn't chase after them or ask them to do better. She doesn't plead for someone to love her properly. A man who cannot rise to meet her standards reveals himself as someone who was never meant to be part of her life. Instead of feeling rejected, she sees it as self-protection. She understands that saying no to the wrong man is a victory, not a loss. The woman with high standards practices what she expects. She holds herself to a level of discipline, kindness, and accountability. She works on becoming the best version of herself, not for a man, but for her own growth. She is responsible with her emotions, honest in her intentions, and committed to her personal evolution. Because of that, she can recognize a man who has also put in the work. She can tell the difference between a man who talks a good game and a man who shows up consistently. She can see through charm, through words without action, through promises that lead nowhere. She doesn't rush into relationships just to cure loneliness or fill a void. She doesn't give access to her heart, body, or time without clarity and purpose. This self-control creates a sense of mystery around her. She is not available to everyone. Men know they have to earn her attention. They have to prove through behavior that they are worthy of a place in her life, and high-quality men appreciate that challenge. They are drawn to a woman who demands excellence because they seek to give excellence. They see her standards not as a barrier but as an invitation to rise. When she walks away from situations that don't meet her standards, she does so with grace. No drama, no begging, no resentment. She lets go because she trusts that what's meant for her will stay. She understands that energy is precious, time is a currency, and her presence is a privilege. She values herself so deeply that no temporary attention can tempt her into compromising her principles. This internal strength creates an aura around her, an energy that communicates, if you want to be here, bring respect, effort, and integrity. Her standards are rooted in self, love, not fear. She doesn't need validation to feel whole. She isn't waiting for someone to save her, complete her, or choose her. She chooses herself first. That confidence is magnetic. The best men, those who lead, commit, protect, and provide, are drawn to the woman who knows what she's worth and refuses to settle for anything less. A woman who naturally attracts the best men understands the strength of clear and direct communication. She doesn't hide behind hints or hope someone will magically guess what she feels. She speaks her truth with confidence. When she likes someone, she doesn't play the hard-to-get game to manipulate attention. When something bothers her, she addresses it calmly instead of letting resentment build. And when she needs clarity, she asks for it instead of staying confused. This isn't about being blunt or aggressive. It's about honoring her voice and protecting her emotional peace. She knows that miscommunication is one of the fastest ways to destroy connection, so she chooses openness over assumptions. She doesn't use silence as punishment or emotional withdrawal as a negotiation tool. She refuses to engage in toxic patterns like jealousy games or testing someone's love. She doesn't say "I'm fine" when she isn't. She doesn't smile through discomfort to avoid conflict. She understands that honesty is an act of respect, both to herself and to the person she's building a relationship with. Because she communicates clearly, men feel safe around her. They don't have to decode hidden meanings or navigate unpredictable reactions. They know that if something is wrong, she'll talk about it. If something is amazing, she'll celebrate it. This creates stability, something high-quality men deeply value. A man who leads, loves deeply, and commits with integrity is drawn to a woman who communicates like a partner, not a puzzle. She expresses what she expects and what she can give in return. She doesn't demand perfection, and she doesn't weaponize vulnerability. She understands the difference between expressing a need and controlling someone. When she wants more attention, affection, effort, or clarity, she says it in a way that builds connection instead of creating tension. She replaces blame with accountability. Instead of saying, "You never do anything for me," she says, "I feel most loved when you do small, thoughtful things." She focuses on solutions, not attacks. She listens just as much as she speaks. Communication isn't a monologue, it's an exchange. She gives space for others to share without interruption or defensiveness. She doesn't rush to respond just to win an argument. She seeks understanding, not domination. Her confidence allows her to hear feedback without feeling threatened by it. She can say, "I hear you, I understand, and let's fix this together." This emotional maturity makes her stand out in a world where many argue to be right instead of communicate to be understood. Direct communication also shows up in the boundaries she reinforces. When someone speaks to her disrespectfully, she doesn't pretend it's okay. She calls it out. If someone is inconsistent, she doesn't justify their behavior, she addresses it. She doesn't bite her tongue to avoid being labeled too much. She knows that being silent about what hurts her is a betrayal of herself. So she stops accepting behavior she knows is wrong the moment it shows up. She understands that the right man appreciates clarity. He wants to know what she values. He wants transparency, not confusion. A high-quality man doesn't run from a direct woman. He runs from emotional chaos. Her communication becomes a magnet for men who want a relationship built on maturity, trust, and shared truth. She doesn't try to impress a man by pretending to have no needs or no opinions. She shows up fully and authentically because the man who is meant for her will want all of her, not a watered-down version designed to be more convenient. She replaces mind games with meaningful conversations. She expresses interest without fear. She initiates discussions that deepen intimacy. She welcomes honesty even when it's uncomfortable. Because she knows that communication is how love grows stronger, how trust is built, and how two people truly choose each other every single day. A woman who naturally attracts the best men protects her peace like it's her most valuable possession, because it is. She understands that her mental and emotional well-being are the foundation of every relationship she enters. She doesn't allow chaos, disrespect, or manipulation to linger in her life. When someone brings unnecessary drama, she creates distance. When someone speaks to her with aggression or belittlement, she stands firm. She communicates a simple truth through her actions. If you want access to her life, you must bring peace, not problems. She doesn't entertain disrespectful behavior, even if it comes from someone she cares about. She knows that love without respect becomes control. She refuses to tolerate lies, inconsistency, or being treated like an option. She doesn't wait for someone to change or hope they will realize her worth one day. She sees behavior for what it is, not for what she wishes it could be. She knows that every time she allows disrespect, she teaches others how to treat her, so she teaches them well by refusing anything that threatens her peace of mind. Her energy is intentional. She doesn't waste time arguing over trivial issues or trying to convince someone to value her. She walks away when needed, not because she's weak, but because she's wise enough to protect herself. High-value men notice this. They admire a woman who doesn't allow stress and negativity to become her lifestyle. They are drawn to her calm strength, her emotional discipline, and her ability to remain grounded. This woman understands the difference between compassion and self-sacrifice. She can be caring without allowing others to drain her. She can listen and support others without absorbing their emotional baggage. She knows how to say no without guilt. She doesn't justify her boundaries or explain why she won't participate in someone's chaos. She simply steps back and prioritizes her own well-being. Her peace is not up for negotiation. She has healed enough to recognize toxicity quickly. She sees the signs: poor communication, disrespect, avoidance, inconsistency, and she doesn't ignore them. She trusts her intuition. She trusts the wisdom she's earned through past experiences. When red flags appear, she doesn't paint them white. When someone's presence begins to feel heavy and stressful, she pays attention. She chooses environments and relationships that nourish her soul, not drain it. She understands that protecting her peace also means mastering her own emotions. She refuses to let anger or insecurity control her. She works on regulating her reactions, choosing her battles, and walking in self-control. She is not triggered easily because she has done the inner work to understand herself. Men admire a woman who doesn't explode with emotion every time something goes wrong. A woman who remains steady and composed has a powerful presence that high-quality men respect. By keeping her peace intact, she creates a safe emotional space. Men feel comfortable opening up around her because she does not judge, degrade, or weaponize vulnerability. Her peace becomes a sanctuary, a place where a good man feels seen and supported. She doesn't compete with him. She doesn't criticize his every move, and she doesn't turn small disagreements into war. She communicates to resolve, not to destroy, but she doesn't fear choosing herself if someone disrupts her inner harmony. She refuses to accept love that comes at the price of her self-respect. She would rather be alone in peace than connected in turmoil, and because she carries this powerful energy, the best men, those who want to build, not break, gravitate to her. They see that she isn't desperate for attention. She isn't impressed by chaos. She is a woman who values serenity, stability, and respect, and that makes her a woman that only the best kind of man can hold on to. A woman who naturally attracts the best men is deeply invested in her own growth. She doesn't wait for life to happen to her. She challenges herself to evolve. She chooses to become emotionally intelligent, mentally strong, physically confident, and spiritually grounded. She refuses to remain the same version of herself year after year. Instead, she is committed to constant improvement because she understands that true confidence is built, not inherited. She doesn't strive to be perfect. She strives to be better than she was yesterday. She takes responsibility for her healing. She doesn't expect a man to fix the pain she refuses to confront. She works through past wounds, learns from what hurt her, and grows stronger from what she survived. She knows that unresolved trauma becomes relationship drama, so she does the inner work. She asks herself hard questions. She learns to understand her triggers instead of letting them control her. This self-awareness makes her a grounded and emotionally stable partner, something high-quality men value deeply. Her growth isn't dependent on a relationship. She has goals and passions that fulfill her. She builds a life she loves on her own terms. She invests in her education, her health, her career, her creativity. She may want a great partner, but she never needs one to feel complete. Her happiness does not rely on someone else's attention or approval. This independence is magnetic. Men admire a woman who doesn't lose herself in love, a woman who brings value rather than just seeking it. She takes care of her body because she respects herself. She doesn't do it for external validation or to meet someone else's standards of beauty. She does it because she understands the connection between physical well-being and emotional strength. Movement makes her feel more alive, nourishment makes her stronger, rest makes her resilient. A woman who shows discipline in how she cares for herself shows discipline in every part of her life, and men notice that level of self-mastery. She feeds her mind with knowledge, curiosity, and depth. She is open to learning, whether through books, conversations, experiences, or challenges. She surrounds herself with people who inspire her to grow instead of those who keep her small. She embraces discomfort because she knows growth requires stepping outside the familiar. She doesn't fear change, she initiates it. She evolves, adapts, and rises above anything that tries to confine her. Her self-growth also shows through her character. She treats others with respect, kindness, and integrity because she has integrity within herself. She holds herself accountable for her choices. She apologizes when she is wrong, and she forgives without letting people walk all over her. A woman like this doesn't need to broadcast her value. It's evident in the way she carries herself, speaks to others, and responds to challenges. A high-quality man observes her growth and feels inspired by it. He sees that she is a partner who will elevate his life, not drain it. She is a woman who can build alongside him, support his dreams, and grow with him rather than relying on him to lead everything. Men who are ambitious, emotionally mature, and purpose-driven want a woman who is also pursuing her potential. They don't want a passenger in life, they want a co-pilot. She knows that a relationship is not a reward for self-improvement, it's a byproduct of living with purpose. She doesn't grow to attract a man, but as she grows, she naturally attracts men who are also striving for greatness. She becomes the kind of woman who elevates the room when she walks in, a woman who leads herself, a woman who others look up to, a woman who never apologizes for wanting more from life because she knows she is capable of achieving more every single day, a woman who naturally attracts the best men, is intentional about who she gives access to. She chooses men who add value to her life, not chaos. She understands that love should bring peace, motivation, and partnership, not confusion, insecurity, or emotional turbulence. She doesn't lean into potential, hoping a man will one day become who she needs. She pays attention to who he is right now today. She looks at his actions, his priorities, and how he shows up when things get difficult. She knows that a man's consistency tells her far more than his charm ever will. She doesn't fall for empty words or grand gestures that lack follow-through. She values effort over excuses, integrity over image, responsibility over promises. She looks for a man who takes initiative, who leads with respect and intention. She doesn't want a man who keeps saying one day, but one who builds towards something real. She recognizes the difference between being pursued and being played with. When a man's behavior starts to feel like emotional chaos, she doesn't stick around waiting for it to magically improve. She steps back because she knows her time and heart are too valuable to gamble with. She chooses a man who respects her boundaries and supports her ambitions. She doesn't want someone who competes with her or feels intimidated by her strength. She wants a partner who celebrates her growth, not one who tries to diminish it. She pays close attention to how a man treats himself, his habits, his self-respect, his discipline, because she knows that a man who cannot lead himself cannot lead a partnership. She wants someone who is building himself up just as she is, a man who is proactive with his life, not passive about his future. She knows the importance of emotional maturity. She chooses a man who communicates clearly, who doesn't run from difficult conversations, who can handle vulnerability without shutting down or acting out. She wants someone who can take accountability, apologize when wrong, and show up again tomorrow with better effort. She does not tolerate defensiveness, blame, shifting, or emotional manipulation. She values a man who handles disagreements with respect, not aggression. She knows that real strength is shown in how a man treats her heart, not just how he looks or what he owns. She chooses a man who protects, not in a possessive way, but in a supportive and safe way, a man who values her presence and prioritizes her well-being, a man who makes her feel secure, not anxious. She pays attention to how he talks about commitment. She looks for alignment in values, lifestyle, goals, and emotional needs. She wants someone she can build with, not babysit or fix. She would rather remain single than invest herself into someone who brings instability into her world. Her standards aren't based on superficial desires but on deeper alignment. She knows that attraction may pull two people together initially, but compatibility keeps them together. She listens to her intuition when something feels off. She doesn't ignore red flags because of good chemistry. She doesn't confuse intensity with intimacy or attention with effort. When someone shows her they're not ready for the kind of love she offers, she walks away without hesitation. She trusts that the right man will recognize her value immediately and act accordingly. Because she chooses wisely, she attracts wisely. High-quality men take notice of a woman who doesn't settle. They admire her strength in selection. They respect that they must earn her trust, not just charm their way in. Her standards become a beacon, a sign that she knows what real partnership requires. And the man who is also ready for that kind of partnership will rise to meet her where she stands, without fear, without games, and without needing to be convinced.